11-year-old car, 52-year-old car. And you're asking yourselves, why is that important? That is important because we treat these transmissions different. For the guys new on the channel, yes, that is a manual. That is a factory manual. It wasn't a conversion. It came from factory to manual. 6-speed. This car also came factory manual. 4-speed factory manual. This is 1970. This is a 2011. And you're here because of the title. Because you see people in comments screaming and being aggro and complaining about you're not double clutching, or double clutch this, or double clutch that. So today, I want to give you guys a modern perspective between double clutching with a modern day synchro mesh transmission and an older transmission with synchros, and how synchros affect how you shift. So before we start looking at the practical use of double clutching and how you do it, let's go over a few basics. Double clutching is used to smoothen the transition between gears, effectively allowing a smooth transfer of weight, momentum between the engine, the drive system, car chassis and stuff like that. There's three basic components. We have the engine side, which we have the engine, we have the drive system, which is the differential and the axles, the tires and stuff like that. And then in the middle, we have the transmission. Simplest form, right? We have the engine, we have the drive system with the tires rolling, differential spinning, then we have the transmission in the middle. What we need to do is get the power from the engine to the wheels. And in doing so, we got to go through a gearbox. What we need to do is try not to grind gears and create wear. Older transmissions, the gears were different, and people used to have to double clutch. When you double clutch, you bring up the RPMs to match the front and the rear side. Doing so, when you shift, the gears just meshed and they connected. Send power to the rear. Bob's your uncle. You're making power. With a synchro mesh gearbox, instead of having to bring the RPMs of the front and rear together to get the gears meshed up, there's a synchronizer, once again trying to break it down simply, that will speed up to match the rear speed, and instead of you spinning it up as before with a double clutching, the synchronizer gears bring everything together for the gears to lock in. This old car has synchronizers, but it may be either worn or may not be as good as a modern day synchronizer. In modern day cars, synchronizers are more robust, they can take more abuse, so there's no necessary need for double clutching. And the reason I brought out these two cars is because when I drive my Z, I double clutch my Z. When I drive the G, I don't double clutch it. People are screaming right now, ready to type comments keyboard. Hold on, we're not done yet. The biggest time to feel synchronizers in play and synchronizers working is when you're shifting from first to second. Normally when you shift, you do your H pattern. Come straight down, come up, whatever, like that. If you're ever in an older car and you're driving and you're going from first to second and you feel you can't make a straight line shift, and when you try to shift you kind of wiggle it a little bit, that's you playing with the fork, playing with the synchronizer, trying to get everything lined up to go in. In that case, synchronizers may be worn, a double clutch will be beneficial. A double clutch is simply breaking apart a shift into two parts. Normally, you're driving, you're in gear, you mash your clutch, you shift, and then you release your clutch. Double clutching, like I said, breaks into two. So when you shift, when you're ready to shift, you match the clutch in, you pull it in neutral, take your foot off the clutch, match the clutch again, put it in gear. Now there are circumstances where that alone could help mesh the gears up, but sometimes you may have to blip the throttle in between that to get the engine speed up to the driveline speed in order to mesh it properly. So that we'll talk about in the practical side. But the double clutch simply is breaking a regular shift into two. So I chose the Z for this part because the Z is frankly a lot quieter than the red car, the G. So you guys should be able to hear me a whole lot better in this car. Got the foot cam going, various cams around. But let's just go, let's stop. And I will show you a regular shift, as we all know. Taking off. And that's a regular shift. When the synchros did the job, brought the two sections together and just line it up and the gears meshed, and Bub's your uncle driving away. I don't know if you noticed, but when I moved my arm, I didn't exactly go in a straight line. Once again, these are old synchros, it's an old car. But when I pulled down, I kind of had to wiggle it a little bit for the synchro to help the synchro do the job. Use the arm to play the synchro a little bit. What we're going to do here, we're doing our first double clutch. See that? Let's stop. Let's do that again. So we're in first. Clutch in, neutral, clutch in, gear. When I do that, it helps line everything up. I'm not at a huge RPM to my drive system, so I didn't need to blip or rev match anything. But it helped the synchros line up, and it helped get it in gear. And once again, it's simply clutch in, go to neutral, clutch out, clutch in, go to gear, clutch out. Okay? Once again. Clutch in, neutral, clutch out, clutch in, shift gear, clutch out. Trying to find roads that aren't too soaked. All muddy. Ugh. I'm gonna have to wash the wheel wells again. Let's go. Double clutch again. So this is simply double clutching. We're not rev matching, we're not heel towing or anything like that. We're just simply double clutching, helping out the synchros a little bit. Now, to do a downshift double clutch rev match, it's a little trickier, a lot of practice. First, you need to practice downshift rev matching. Okay, the downshift rev matching, you're in your gear, you clutch in, you blip, you clutch out. That's simple. So double clutch rev match, you clutch in, put in neutral, you blip. You see, it's tricky. I gotta practice this some more. You clutch in, go to neutral, clutch out, rev match, clutch in. While the RPM's up, you clutch in and go to the gear, because you're raising the engine speed up to match the rear. So once again, right, so we're in gear, we clutch in, pull out of gear while in neutral, blip, clutch back in while the RPMs is high, and drop in gear so everything lines up. Alright, so remember, we hit during our neutral. So see how that was? Clutch didn't go to neutral. While in neutral, we blipped, then we clutch in again and go in gear. Try that again. Do it a little faster. It's kind of a little hard to do it doing this slow. Let's go. Ooh, that felt good. See that one? We clutched in, went neutral, we blipped, and then we finished our gear shift. RPMs was up, car didn't shake, weight didn't jerk, you didn't feel like a shift shock, it just went in. So that weight transferring is what you're trying to avoid. You're trying to avoid shifting the weight abruptly and disrupting the suspension. I didn't do it good there. I didn't blip it hard enough. I say it takes practice. Fumbled. Okay, let's try it again. Alright, key thing. Neutral. A little slow. Could have been faster. Could have been faster. Woo! Big hole! Big hole! So I have no idea where I'm at in this subdivision. I've never been in between these roads like this. I'll have to use my maps to get out. Let's try again. Like that. That was nice. Turn around. That was a nice one. So hopefully you're seeing what it is. You're breaking out the single step into two. You're either while you're cruising and RPMs, drive speed, everything are on the same. While you're cruising, you just simply double clutch. Okay? No big fuss about it. You're just driving around, double clutching away. But if you want to match it, you gotta throw some RPMs under the hood. Can't do it right now. Through the side street, this side alley, instead of going down there. That's a bunch of water down there. So you see there, I didn't match the revs and it kind of lurched. Kind of launched a little bit, so that's why you kind of want to blip the throttle so it doesn't shift the weight. It's a smooth transition. So let's blip. A little smoother. Try to go from second to third. Maybe a little faster on it. Little faster on it. So that's double clutching going up. That helps get the gears lined up. Get them sucked in. Let's see if we could do a downshift, a double clutch downshift here. That's trickier. We gotta throw the brake in there. Oh, messed it all up. I'm more confident in the G because the G I drive like that more often. But it's harder for you guys to hear me in there. Oof. So, did you hear that? Did you hear that? So I didn't double shift there. Synchros had a hard time. And did you see I went from shifting fast and I slowed down at the second part? The gears grinded a little bit there. So that's what happens. That's why I want to bring this older car. That the synchro is a little worn or not as good as a new modern car. I really need to get on the big road. video to do this in the red car. But I hope you guys are picking up the essence of what the double clutch is, why you do it, and for what reasons. But the whole purpose of this video is to illustrate what the double clutch is and really talk about the need. Really is the need to double clutch with a modern day synchro mesh car. And if you're just driving, there's no need to double clutch. If you're just having your daily commute or whatever, forget double clutching. But if you're really banging gears and you're really tearing it up, it's not a bad technique to learn. It's a technique that will save your synchros. I mean, it's not necessary. Now, you see, if you go full-time racing, doing autocross and stuff like that, that's really in those high RPMs and really giving the car a lot of pressure, yes, absolutely. In your modern day vehicle, learn how to double clutch. But if you just drive around, driving a little enthusiastically, forget about double clutching. Just drive. Let your synchros do the job. That's what the synchros are there for. Now, if you have a car that's not as reliable and doesn't have a good reputation, then yeah, double clutching on a daily could extend the life of your transmission. But the majority of my channel uses a modern day style sport luxury car, the G37 or the Q50 or so, but the Q50 doesn't have manual. Those cars you don't really need. I don't really think you have a need to, we'll see, like, beautiful explanation just now. Going up a hill, the synchros locked me out to go into first gear. There was some traffic up ahead. And by blipping the throttle, I was able to get everything lined up and get into first gear. Double clutching works. So it's a nice technique to know, but I don't think it's a nice technique to have to do. And I don't believe it's a nice technique for internet trolls out there to be trolling people and saying, oh, you're not double clutching like you're supposed to, blah, blah, blah. Tell the troll, I'm sorry I'm not double clutching my modern day synchro mesh transmission. Well, we're back. And the purpose of this video was to try and break down double clutching as simplest as I can without overcomplicating and confusing people. I remember when I first started exploring this, it was kind of hit or miss. There wasn't too much information out there. But as time goes by, as videos come out, I also put a link in the description to videos that I liked that really helps explain double clutching, why it's needed, why it's not needed. But to me, my understanding of the technique, the reason for the technique, the mechanisms involved in the technique, on a modern synchro mesh gearbox, there's no need to double clutch unless you're really driving it hard and you're really doing autocrossing or probably drifting or anything like that to these transmissions. It will save and extend the life of your synchros. If not, you just gotta update your synchros and get that sorted out. So with that note, thank you very much for joining the video. Thank you very much for hanging out. Put in a comment, let me know if I confused you or if this stuff made sense. Let me know what camp you in, if you need to double clutch for every time, or if double clutching is unnecessary on modern day transmissions. But until then, you guys have a good one, and you all take it easy.